I was going through some old files and I ran across this web storage code that I did in May 5th, 2016. And I'm going to go over it again for review because I haven't been utilizing web storage for anything. We got HTML head title back then, and it was May 5th, so I gave the title storage practice May 5th. I've got some internal style in the practice May 5th HTML webpage. So I've got style for list item. The list style type is disk. I've got another style for the table and the table data cell, border thick purple solid and border collapse collapse. Well, I z'd out border collapse, and I'll show you why. Because if I collapse the border, notice the blue and purple borders here. Well, the blue disappears, and the blue is actually this right here, border thick blue solid for the table itself. So if I misspell border collapse again, you'll go back to seeing both the purple and the blue border. One is for the table data cell, the other is for the table itself. So I already went over the table being the border thick blue solid. I got three things here: ID storage key text, ID storage data text, and ID remove key text. And for that I've got background color yellow, padding 5 pixels, margin 5 pixels, and width 120 pixels. So you can tell what I'm talking about by looking at the output on the web page. There are these areas right here. These elements on the web page are going to have these IDs and these styles. Another table data cell style, padding 5 pixels. Then we've got save button, remove button, and clear button, and each of these buttons have their respective IDs, and all three of those buttons share some styling, and the styling that they share is a width of 100%, which is 100% of the table data cell that it's in, a padding of 5 pixels, a border of 10 pixels, gray outset, and a font weight of bold, and a color of white. Then they have their own exclusive styles. So the pound save button has a background color of green. The pound remove button has a background color of red. The pound clear button has a background color of blue. And so you can see they each have their own unique background color. The last style I have right here is pound local storage data output. And that's what's going to show up in this thin black area when you create a storage key value pair. And that's going to have a background color of black, a font size of 20 pixels, and a color of white. So it's kind of going to remind you of a chalkboard. There's the end of the style. And we have some script in this web page as well. We have to have some JavaScript to make this storage stuff work. So here we have function add storage, and it starts at this red curly brace and goes all the way to line 86. Let's go over that really quick. Function add storage. Var key equals document.gelement by ID storage key text. Var data equals document.getelement by ID storage data text. Got an if condition here, if and else. If local storage in window, then local storage.set item, and in parentheses key.value, comma data.value. So there's the end of that if, and here's the else. Else window.alert, no local storage in Windows. So this is basically checking that the browser accepts local storage coding. After that, you've got document.location.reload, and in parentheses true. And there's the end of the add storage function. Now let's check out the remove storage function. That goes from line 92 all the way down to line 109. So we got function remove storage. The first statement says var key equals document.getelement by ID, and parentheses and quotes remove key text. Then you've got a nested if statement, so they're an if nested inside another if. That says if local storage in window, and also if local storage.length is greater than 0, then local storage.remove item, and then you put in parentheses key.value. So after you go through that nested if, then there's an else for that, and that else says window.alert, no local storage in window. So there's the end of that. Actually, almost the end. You still have this ending statement, document.location.reload, true. Now we've reached the end of the remove storage function. Finally, I have a function clear storage. That goes from line 114 all the way to line 127. Function clear storage. Again, we have nested if conditions and an else. So I'll do the nested if first. If local storage in window and if local storage.length is greater than 0, then local storage.clear. Else, same thing that we've been seeing. Window.alert, no local storage in window. And else. And then finally, that final statement, document.location.reload, parentheses true. Alright, so then in line 132, we have window.unload equals function. And this goes all the way to line 142. So window.unload equals function. Var local HTML equals, it's set to a blank string. For var I equals 0, as long as I is less than local storage.length, increment I. So we're creating a for loop here. And in that for loop, we've got local HTML plus equals. We've got a li tag, it's a list item tag, plus the value of local storage.key with the index of I, which is going to change with every iteration of the loop, plus a space, a colon, and a space, plus the value of local storage.get item, and then in parentheses you've got local storage.key, and again you're using that I incremental variable. Then you're going to concatenate the ending list item tag. So what this is going to do is when we create a storage key value pair, it's going to, and we hit save it, it's going to create list items, and they're going to show up in here. So for instance, if I have the storage key 1 and then I go to the storage key value, maybe I can write apples. Save it. So you see the list item has a disk here as its little image, list item and image, list style type. And 1 is the key that we created. You got the colon that separates the key and the value, and then you have the value on the right hand side. So let's say we want to save another one. Let's put 2 as the storage key, and maybe this time we'll write pairs for the storage value and hit save it. So now you've got 2 things here. You can write anything you want as the key. You could write today's date. You could say November 15th. Whoops. You could say, if I can get the caps off, November 15th, 2016. And you could say, what a day. And you could hit save it. Okay, so you see how this works. One side is called the key, the other side is called the value for the key. And it's pretty flexible, which you can use. Now to remove one of these, you have to remove the entire left-hand side. The entire left-hand side of the colon is what the key is. So if I want to remove this whole note, I have to remove the whole thing on the left-hand side. Here, it's simple because I only put a single digit to be the key. So if I want to get rid of pairs, I just have to get rid of the number 2. 2, remove 1. If I want to remove what a day, I have to put the entire November 15th underscore 2016, remove 1. Now if I want to create a bunch of others, let's say A, and that's going to be blah, save it, B, more blah, whatever your thing is, doesn't really matter. Now, say I want to remove all. Well, this button right here, and I have a note here, click only if you want to remove all key value pairs, because you can't undo it once you do it. So that removed everything. Let me finish with the code. Since I showed you how it worked, I don't need to go over it again. Here's the end of that for loop I did. I just wanted to show you how we created list items and how the output showed on this page. Alright, after the for loop we have document.getElement by ID and in parentheses local storage data output, and then .inner HTML equals local HTML. There's the end of that window on load. This whole thing from 133 to 142. There's the end of the script, the end of the head. Now let's go over the body, which is a real simple table that creates this output. First we have a H1 tag that says web storage 5/5/2016, and that's what you see right here. That's the day that I actually did this code, and it's actually 11/15/2016 now, so you see how many months ago I made that. There's a table, the opening table tag. There's the opening table row tag, and that goes from there all the way to line 158. That's the first row here. So in the first table data cell, this is what we got. We have the words create storage key, which you see right here. Then we have an input that you can type into. Input type equals text, ID equals storage key text. And of course we're using that ID storage key text in the CSS style and in the JavaScript. So there's the end of that first table data row. Here's the second table data row, which is right here. And the words say create storage value, another input, type equals text, ID equals storage data text, end table data cell. There's the third table data cell with the input. That's this right here. Input, type equals button, ID equals save button, value equals save it, because that value is what you actually see on the page. Save it in capitals. On click equals add storage, return false. On click equals add storage. That's calling the add storage function that I read already, and I can't remember how to explain what the return false means. I googled it, but I had a couple of different things that it said, and so I'm not going to repeat both because they're not exactly the same answer. You could Google why would you put return false and see what you get. There's the end of the table row. And here's the next table row. So this is this middle row with all the stuff in it of the table. I'm sorry, it is not this one either. It's the one with the black background, the one that's going to output all those list items, whatever we create in the key value pairs when we click save it. So in that table row, we've got a table data cell with a call span of 3 because it goes all the way across all 3 columns. ID equals local storage data output, endtd, endtr. Alright, now we're going to go to this table row that says remove a storage key. And that goes from line 166 to 175. And table data cell with a call span of 2, because this first table data cell takes up 2 columns. You got the text that says remove a storage key, which you see I've got highlighted here. Then you've got an input, another place so that a user can type inside of. Type equals text, ID equals remove key text. End of table data cell. Now we've got another table data cell, because this row has 2 table data cells. Here's the second one. Input type equals button, ID equals remove button. So now we're talking about this button over here to the right. Value equals remove 1, because we want the user to realize that you put in a key and you remove one of the key value pairs by clicking that. On click equals remove storage. So by clicking that button, you're calling the remove storage function. And again, I apologize, but I don't know how to explain why the return false is part of that, but it is. From the code that I got months ago, it was part of the code, so I didn't take it out. There's the end of the table data cell, the end of that row. So this row has 2 table data cells, and I went over that. Here is the next table row, and it goes from line 178 to 185. The first table data cell is a call span of 2 because it also goes across 2 columns. And then you've got this little batch of text that says click only if you want to remove all key value pairs, and that's what you see that I have highlighted. That's the end of that table data cell. Here's the second table data cell in that row. Input type equals button, because here we've got this remove all button. ID equals clear button. Value equals remove all. Remove all is what you actually see on the face of the button right here. On click equals clear storage. So when you click that blue button, it's going to call the clear storage function that we created in our JavaScript. And again, we still have return false there. End table data cell, end table row, end the whole table, and the body, end the HTML. Alright, so this was created on May 5th, 2016. I'm going to create a storage key value pair based on today's date, which again, November 15th, 2016, and I'm going to give myself a note. Today will be a good day. Save it. There's my note for today. Now I can refresh the page. I can close out of it, close out of the code, and I'll come back in a week and see if my note's still there. Nothing should erase it except that button that I created to get rid of it, unless I have another set about another code somewhere in another page that will remove all. I don't think I will be jumping on that, so that code should stay there as long as I want it. So that's like something that I could use as a to-do list, as a journal, as just whatever I want to use it for. All right.